Welcome back to the Arbitrary YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make this pleated corset blouse with yoke. It's very simple to make and it is beginner friendly. If this is what you would like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Welcome back to the Arbitrary YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make a pleated corset blouse. It can also be adapted to be a dress, and I already made my markings here. We've done this separately on the channel, so by now I'm sure we know how to do this, but I'm just going to quickly run us through it. Okay, so here the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 7 inches. That's 14 divided by 2, and I've marked my 7 inches here. I went down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. This is my armhole measurement, 8 inches. My bust point 10.5. Under bust is 14, and the full length I'm working with is 18 inches. I'm going to be stopping it around the half length area. Okay, so here I measured my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches, and then I made it straight down like this. Here, to get my dart here, I took my neckline measurement, 3 inches, and then connected it to my shoulder slope, and then I found the midpoint of this 4 inches divided by 2. It gave me 2 inches, and then I connected this to my bust point measurement here on the nipple to nipple line that I marked. So on the under bust measurement, I took 1 inch dart, and then I connected it, and then straight down to my waist also. And then here I took my bust dart of 1 inch also, and then I connected it like this. Okay, so after having this, now to create my corset cup, I need to determine how low I want this corset to be. Okay, so around 10 inches is okay, 9 inches is okay for me. You can decide to do whatever you want. So now that I have 9 inches, I'm going to note it there, and then remember there is going to be like a midpoint on my corset. That's the distance between one breast to another. So for me, I'll be working with 1/2 inch. This is on fold, so 1/2 inch is going to give me 1 inch, which is okay for me. So here I'm going to rule it so that we can see what I'm doing. Okay, 1 inch will be too much, because by the time you take 1 inch and then you open it out, it's going to be around 2 inches. So you can either do 1 inch, you can either do 1/2 inch on fold or 3/4 inch, depending on the size of the bust. Remember, I took this 1/2 inch measurement on this point where I marked my depth for my neckline, which is 9 inches. So after doing this, now I'm going to create my first half of the cup by taking a curved ruler, and then I'm going to connect it from this point to my under bust here, so that I can create my under bust, my corset cup. Okay, and then I've done this now. So 1/2 of my corset is ready. To create the other side of the corset, I need to close this bust dart so that this dart will open up for me. And to do that, I need to cut this out. Okay, so once I cut this out, now I'll be able to close up my bust dart. Remember, this is not going to be like an off shoulder, so it's going to be having a yoke. That is the difference from the ones that we've done on the channel. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm going to cut my dart here, okay, to close it, and then I'm going to cut out my bust dart also. So I have several videos which I explained in detail how you can make this dart, so you can watch that. I don't want this video to be too long, so that it won't be a repetition. That was why I made the markings like this. Okay, so now that I've cut out my dart, I can easily close my bust dart. And to close my bust dart, I'm simply going to place this on this, and then I'll use my masking tape to hold it. So now that I've closed my bust dart, I'll continue with shaping my bust. Okay, so this is what we have now. You can see that the waist dart has now opened up more for us. So now I'm going to continue creating the cup for my corset, and to do this I'm going to connect from here up to this place here. This place is like my actual bust measurement. The bust measurement I'm working with is 9 inches. That's 36 divided by 4. Okay, and I added allowance to it, so I'm going to connect it from that place up to this place, because I'll be using a different fabric entirely for the yoke. So now I'm trying to find a perfect curve. I can't find the normal curve that I use. That's why I'm trying to manage this. Okay, so once I find a good place to draw my curve, you can see that our curve is completely drawn now. So now this blouse is going to have a V neckline. So remember, I took 3 inches neckline here, which is the basic neckline we do for our basic bodies. So if this is okay for you, you can use this, but I want to use like 3.5 inches. So I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch to the 3 inches that I took here. So adding 1/2 inch to it now, I'm going to connect it here to my 9 inches that I marked using a V-shaped measurement, but you can make it straight. I don't want the V to be too straight. That's why I'm using this slightly curved area of my ruler. So I'm just going to connect it like this. And after connecting it like this, I can easily cut out my measurement. So now remember, I said this is going to be having a yoke. I'm going to cut out the down part of it like this. I'll cut out the other one also. So now the cuff part of the corset is going to be together with my yoke. Okay, those are the variations, and then I'm going to cut out the neckline. Those are the variations we have from the regular corsets that we've been doing on the channel. So these are our patterns now. This is my yoke together with my cup, and this is the down part of the yoke. So now I'm going to be cutting this on my fabric now, and then I'll bring it back to show us. So I've gone ahead to cut this on my fabric now, and then I added my necessary allowance where I need to add it. Okay, I cut this on fold. Remember, this is the center front and it has to be cut on fold. I cut my center front of it, and then these are my side front, and then I added allowances on my that area. I did not cut lining for this because this is just a tutorial. So if you are making yours, after cutting your main fabric, you know you need to cut your lining. Okay, so to cut her yoke now, I'll be using this doll face fabric, and then I'm going to put it on fold so that I can cut the two yokes together. So once I put it on fold like this, I'm going to place my yoke on it. And remember that I said this is going to be a pleated corset, which means that we'll be adding little pleats or gathers around the under bust area. So to introduce enough space for my gathers, I'm not going to cut off these darts. I hope you understand what I'm saying. This is the dart that we have here. If yours is not going to be a pleated corset, when you're cutting it, you need to cut your corset around here, and then when you get to this dart area also, you are going to be cutting off your dart, so that you're just going to be sewing the darts together, and then you fix it inside your already made cuff that you have for your cup. Okay, but in my own case, I want to be adding pleats to it, so I'm not going to be cutting off. So this dart space that I have is what I'm going to be gathering, so that I can introduce pleats or gathers to my bust corset, because it's going to be fitted up to this place. all this upper bust area is going to be fitted. The gather is just going to be around this area, so that is why I'm adding the gathers around here. I hope you understand what I'm saying. If you don't want pleating around here, you just need to cut this out. When you're cutting, you cut it out so that you have exactly what we have here, and by the time you close your dart, you can see your cup is going to form for you exactly the way you want it to be. You can see that the cup is already out. When you close this dart, you have your cup like this, and then you can easily fix it in the space that you have created here. But in my own case, I'll be gathering, so I'll find a way to blend in this curve. I don't know my curve, I don't know where it is. I'm going to find a way to blend in this curve so that it will give me like extra space that I can gather. Okay, so I've placed this now, and I have blended it like this so that I can easily cut it out. So the next thing is just for me to add some allowances like I did for this cuff also. So I'm just going to be adding a little allowance there for sewing, and then I'll cut it out. Okay, so I've cut this now, as you can see, and remember I said I will not be lining this, so which means if you're going to be adding a lining to it, you need to factor. You can even add your allowance here because you'll be turning this also, but I will not be doing all that. That's why I'm not adding any line. The only sewing I'm doing is just to sew this yoke to the other parts of my bodies. So like I said again, if you don't want any pleating here, you need to cut out this dart so that you can sew it together, and then it will return to the accurate size dart. But what I have here now, you can see, is more than, you can see it's more than the cup that I need, because I want to be adding some pleats here so that it can fit into the size of my cup. If this pleat that you have here is not enough for you, you can also do some slash and spread method to introduce more volume to it, but I'm okay with what I have here. So now the sewing that I'm going to be doing now is to sew this together. Remember, this is cut on fold. If you open it up, you will have something like this. So now I'm going to take it to my sewing machine now, and then I'm going to sew this to this and this to this. So after sewing this now, I'm going to take this also, and then I'm going to gather it to fit into the cup that I originally cut it out from. So as a guide, I'm going to close this dart here so that I'll use it to know the exact curve that I need to have to. So by the time I gather this, I'm going to gather it to this exact measurement, since I know that this is the exact curve that I need to fit into this. Okay, so I've gone ahead to join them together on the dart, and you know it is not compulsory for you to have any seam line like this on the dart. So if you don't want that, what you just need to do is close your dart here. You close it together like this and gum with a masking tape before you cut it out on your fabric. So now I've done that, and I went ahead to gather a little bit of my fabric like I said, and then I run the gather stitch, gathered it. I just concentrated my gathers on this midpoint part, so I wanted more gathers there. I gathered it round, and then I fixed it inside my bust cup like this. Okay, so this is what we have on the inside. I'm still going to notch it so that I can relax well. So on the other side, I decided not to do the other side so that you will understand what I'm saying. What I did is I run a gather stitch. This is a gather stitch, and then I just pick one strand of the thread, and then I'm going to drag it to form like mini gathers that will fit into my bust cup. And like I said, I concentrated my gathers on the center part, the center. Remember, this is the side, on the center part like this, and then I spread it evenly. So after adding my gathers, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and then sew this inside my ready-made bust cup. So I'm going to do this for the other one also. I'm going to gather it completely and then sew it so that I'll have something like this. So when I sew it, I'll bring it back to show us. But another thing you can do is, after gathering this, if you have like a trimming, you can add it on this gathered part. If you don't want your gatherings to be showing, you can add trimming. You can decorate it even here. You can decorate it whatever it is that you have. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew it, to sew the two sides together, as you can see. And the ½ inch I was saying is the one on the midpoint here. That was what we measured to get this. So the ½ inch is going to give us 1 inch by the time we open it up. Remember, I added seam allowance to sew it when I was cutting it on the fabric. And this is what it looks like now. So assuming you want to add lining to this, you just need to cut exactly this, sew it exactly like this again, and then you use them to turn out each other. That is what you need to do. And if you want more gathers on here, I already told us that what we can do is just do by doing slash and spread. You can just do maybe a slash and spread method around here, and then you spread it so that you have more volume. But this is okay for me. That is why I just decided to go with the space that I have for my dart. Okay, and like I said, you can add trimmings to this just to beautify it. So now I'll take it to the mannequin so that we can see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what our pleated corset with yoke looks like. You can see our small gatherings around here, and I went ahead to add this trimming that I already have. So you can add whatever it is to embellish it. It's really beautiful and it's simple to make, as you can see. So if you are doing yours, remember how I told us that we're going to cut the same thing for our lining and then use it to turn it out so that we'll not be having all these rough edges. So if this video was helpful, kindly leave a thumbs up, comment, let us know in the comment section what you feel about this video. See you in the next one. Bye.